What if what's holding you back isn't your schedule, but your thoughts? Today on Unscripted Faith, we're talking about breaking procrastination, quieting the noise in your mind and finding a better way forward for you and for your family. Jon Acuff joins us. He's a New York Times bestselling author and one of today's leading voices on goals, mindsets, and productivity. And Beth Guckenberger, a missionary, Bible teacher, and leader serving vulnerable children around the world, shares how we can help the next generation navigate big emotions and anchor their thoughts in truth. Let's roll. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad you've invited us into your home. And if you couldn't tell already, I am not Angela, and neither are you.
And I'm not Angela either.
But we're so glad to be here with you. I am J. Anthony Gill. This is my lovely wife, Tiffany, and we are so honored to be back here on the set of Unscripted Faith. Ain't it awesome to be here?
I am so excited to be here with you, and I'm looking forward to our topics that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, because this first one here, dealing with procrastination, is right up my wife's alley.
You kind of looked at me funny, so you're thinking about me.
I am, and hopefully this man's got some answers for her. Let's see what happens here.
I hope so too.
Did you know this? And I don't know if you know, but do
Yeah.
y'all know in your homes that according to American Psychological Association, up to 95% of people admit to procrastinating.
Wow.
And nearly 1 in 5 say it's a chronic issue that affects their careers, their health, and their relationship. But you know what? You're not without help. Our guest, Jon Acuff, is here, and he's a New York Times best-selling author and host of the popular podcast, All It Takes is a Goal. Says procrastination is not your problem, but it is a solution, and one that can lead to a remarkable life. Jon, welcome to Unscripted Faith.
Thanks for having me today. I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Now, listen, I know you're going to get into some stuff that's going to help my wife here and many other people to show us how procrastination isn't a problem, but it's a solution. But before you do, can you give us some insight into how you came to faith?
Yeah, so I grew up in the church. I'm a pastor's kid. In the 1980s, my dad moved us from Durham, North Carolina to Hudson, Massachusetts to plant a Southern Baptist church in Massachusetts in the 80s, which was unheard of at the time. And grew up there, baptized in the 4th grade, but really came into my own kind of understanding and personal faith, I'd say in my late 20s. You can't inherit faith, even if your dad's a pastor. You can't pass it down like a watch. So in my late 20s, I plugged into a great men's group where I learned that I get to use words like sad and scared. Turns out men can say those words, go figure. Yeah. And really had a personal change of my life in my late 20s. And now I'm 50, so it's been a fun last 20 years or so.
So you said men can use words sad and scared, but what about procrastination?
Yeah, well, see, people say to me, this is your 11th book, you've never struggled with it. And I say, well, I didn't write a book until my mid-30s. I knew in the 3rd grade I wanted to be a writer. But in my 20s and my early 30s, a lot of different jobs, pretty average marriage, pretty average faith. And it really wasn't until my mid-30s when I discovered this radical idea that nobody likes online called personal responsibility. It was just a crazy concept. And so I started to take personal responsibility for my life and learned about mindset, learned about goals, and I've written 11 books since. And so you could kind of draw a line in my mid-30s before and after. And what's after is dealing with procrastination and overthinking and perfectionism and all the things that hold people back.
So I'm going to take personal responsibility right now, okay? And I'm going to admit that I have had issues with procrastination. I mean, it's crazy. And 95, you said 95% of people, which is huge. So a lot of people have this issue. It's just not me. But I love what you said. You said it's not a problem. So many years I thought it was a problem for me, but you said it's not a problem, but it's an actual solution. Can you talk a little bit about how it's actually a solution?
Yeah, it's not a laziness issue. The people I know that procrastinate the most are the hardest workers. Often it's just that they've overfilled a day. They've got, 48 hours of work they want to do in a 24-hour period. And here's the thing, your imagination is bigger than your calendar. So people will dream all the things they want to do, and the calendar is very fixed. The calendar's had the same amount of days and hours in it for 1,000 years. And then you add your big imagination to it, and all of a sudden you go, I can't do it all. And you end up at the end of the day procrastinating on a lot of things that maybe you never had a shot at anyway. So one of the things I do with people early on is go, how much time do the things you want to do take, and how much time do you have in your calendar? And often there's a huge divide. Their hope is divorced from their reality. And so if I can get those two things to overlap, it's easy to stop procrastinating as much.
That is so good. I mean, you are definitely talking to me. I feel
Setting
like
her free, John. You're setting her free.
Step by step.
You know what?
It's
John,
happening.
You definitely wrote this book for me. I mean, it's because what you're saying, I'm like, okay, that's it. And it's true because, you have all the right intentions. You want to help this person over here. You want to fulfill this over there. You got to do this for your kids. You have to do this we have a church. So you have to do this for the church too. So you're trying to balance everything. But it is, you really, and you are hardworking. You're trying to get it all done, but there are certain things that, you have set in play that really you're not going to get done. So I think that's good. And it's really about, would you say it's about time management? Managing
part of it
all
is,
those...
and part of it's discipline too. I'll give you my favorite definition of discipline is make tomorrow easy today. Yeah. Make tomorrow easy today. What can I do today to hook up myself tomorrow? Mm-hmm. What can I do to hook up future me? And you kind of think through that, and then you go, okay, what can Monday me do to hook up Friday me? What can I do today to make Friday even easier? Right. And then you start sending gifts towards the future. So then Friday you has an easier afternoon because Monday you dialed it in and locked in. And then you go, okay, what can 50-year-old me do to make 60-year-old me have a great life? Like, what do I need to do to be financially responsible, get my knees in shape, whatever the thing is? So you start to think about your future, and you realize, like, a soundtrack I use, and that's a phrase, I wrote a book called Soundtracks about repetitive thoughts, is the person who has to do it later is also me. The person who has to do it later is also me. If I decide to not do something and send it to the future, guess who still has to do it? I have to do it. So how can I make sure that I'm sending gifts to my future self, not extra burdens, extra tasks, extra work that I put off?
That is so true.
That is really good. I like what you said. Can you say it again about how you should look at procrastination, about planning for tomorrow? Can you say that one more time?
So the soundtrack there is make tomorrow easy today. So what can I do today to make tomorrow easy? Yeah. An example of that would be, if I wake up on a Monday morning without a plan, I'm overwhelmed. 8 a.m., overwhelmed instantly. I got phone calls ringing, clients coming in, I've got emails and texts. But if night me will spend 10 minutes at 7 p.m. and come up with a plan the next day, Monday me will run through a wall if you just point out the wall first. Wow. So now what I do is night me hooks up morning me. Now, it used to be at odds. I would get up in the morning and go, I want to kill it today, but I'd feel groggy and tired. I'd go, night me, what did we do last night? And he'd say, we stayed up till midnight scrolling on Instagram. We ate a lasagna at 1 a.m. I'd be like,
wow, that is so crazy.
That is totally her.
That is so crazy.
You would definitely do some scrolling. Arthritis. Arthritis in the finger from how much scrolling she does.
But you know what, John? That's because my day, it is so packed where I'm like, okay, now this is my time. I've just served everybody else. Now I get just a little bit of time, but really I should be making a plan, because I know when I make a plan, like when I put all the kids, I will execute it. So when I get all the clothes ready, the lunch is out, everything like that, everything that I have to do for our women's center, I get all that done, and I feel so good in the morning, like you said, because there's a plan.
Well, my question then, John, is if that's the case, though, of having a plan, well, how do you not procrastinate in developing the plan? Because
there's really 4 permissions. The book is about giving yourself permission. That's the key. So the 4 permissions you have to give yourself consistently in this order are permission to dream, permission to plan, permission to do, and permission to review. Now, where people get stuck on planning is perfectionism. They go, I'm going to do this as soon as the plan is perfect. I'm going to change the world just as soon as the plan is perfect. And if you work at a church, you know the plan is never perfect.
Come on.
Like, once you involve people, the plan goes right out the window. I mean, we just got through Easter. Nobody's Easter went exactly the way you thought Easter would go. So part of not procrastinating planning is don't hold yourself to a perfect standard, because you'll never have a perfect plan. The soundtrack I'll give you for that is plan like an engineer, live like an artist. Plan like an engineer, be detailed, be specific, but then you got to live with like an artist. You got to be flexible, you got to adapt. So it's holding both things in your hands at the same time. Really, really being specific about your plans, really flexible with especially the way life and God will change those plans.
You know what, John, you just described our marriage. You said plan. Like, I'm the detailed one. She's the artist.
Yeah.
She's the dreamer and all of that
I'm
stuff.
like, let's
and
just do it. We don't need a plan. Let's just go.
Yeah, let's jump right in.
Let's just jump right in. Yeah.
All right, so one last thing. We've got about 3 minutes left together here, and I want you to take your time with this. I think this is really good. Our producer gave me a great question.
Yeah,
I want to
very
give them
good.
props to you.
Yeah.
I think this is really good. How do you know what to take out of your calendar? You said a lot of times they have too much. Which things, how do you plan it in a way that you can take things out of the calendar that maybe it's too much for the day, or move it further down the line? What's your advice on that?
Well, I like the clock and the calendar guide me, meaning if I have an honest estimate of how much time something takes, and then I don't have that hour in the calendar, I don't want my day to need 10 miracles for it to work. Like, I love a miracle. I do. I just don't want my day to need 12 of them. Like, if somebody shows me their plan and they're like, and then these 42 miracles will happen and we'll get it all done. I go, whoa. So the easiest way, again, is to assign a rough estimate. Go, it's going to take me about a half hour to do car ride or pickup line with my kids. Great, let's give that half hour to this time. And it's going to take me about 40 minutes to get dinner ready. Great, let's do that. Okay, so once you do that, it naturally will push some things out. I don't want you to have to make the difficult decision of which is the most important thing. That's when you kind of get stuck and go, it's all important, like who would I say no to? And the reality is you're never done with the work, meaning you'll never finish church work. You guys never go home and go, we helped enough people. Like we told enough people about Jesus today. We finished church work. You don't finish the work, you finish the day. And there's a difference. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you go, I finished the day, and you look at the things that you didn't get to and go, look at all the good things I left for tomorrow. Wow. I left so many ways for me to be engaged tomorrow. Not I failed and didn't get it all done. Same with teaching. No teacher goes home and goes, I helped every student the exact right amount. Nobody who works in social media goes, I did all the Instagram today in the exact right way. So you really have to be honest about how much time you have, be honest about how much time things cost, and then recognize you finished the day, not the work, and release yourself from that pressure of, I cleared the to-do list. Yeah. Nobody's to-do list is ever perfectly empty unless you have no imagination or no friends or no challenges. Like, I want you to have a full to-do list. That means you're alive.
That's right.
That is so good. Well, John, let me tell you this. You have totally set my wife free today. She's going to celebrate. There's hope and there's room at the cross.
There's somebody that understands me. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. You're not alone. You're not alone.
I'm not alone.
You are not alone.
Yeah, exactly. Let's end on a high note.
Exactly. Let's do that. That's right. That's right.
John, we thank you so much for coming by. This book is phenomenal, Procrastination Proof. I love the input that you're giving to us and the outlook that procrastinators can have in order to help them do better with this. Thank you so much for stopping by here on Unscripted Faith.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
You got it. That was good, wasn't it?
That was so good.
You feel free?
I do, and I feel like somebody understands me. I feel like, wow, this is great. I'm really not alone.
You're not alone.
And I'm a hard worker.
You are.
I am a hard worker.
And I'm real excited because both of these, whether y'all realize, we're getting personal counseling right now, because coming up next, we just got Procrastination Proof. Now we're going to be able to deal with something else. Beth Guckenberger, who is a phenomenal woman of God, says she can help us teach our children how to navigate big emotions, we have one of those.
That's right.
Which we all have, but we have one son that really has big emotions like that. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back right after this short break.
When you partner with Cornerstone Television, you're saying yes to hope, yes to truth, yes to the life-changing power of the gospel. Imagine if your yes could keep going month after month through automatic giving. That's what Easy Pledge is all about. Easy Pledge is a simple way to turn one faithful decision into ongoing impact. Easy Pledge automatically deducts your gift every month using your credit or debit card, so your support keeps working, even when life gets busy. It's one yes that keeps saying yes. Yes to hope, help, and healing. Yes to prayer that transforms lives. Yes to the message of Jesus reaching homes, hospitals, and prisons every single day. Sign up for Easy Pledge today by calling 888-665-4483 or visit ctvn.org/donate. Thank you for your faithful partnership and for making Cornerstone Television your home for Christian TV.
do we grow closer to God? This is a question I continually ask myself. We must remember we have never arrived at a finish line with the infinite, limitless God. There's always more to explore with Him. So how do I personally grow closer to God? I call these moments still-away moments. In the busyness of life, whether I'm at a ball field or on the job site or working, I will take a moment and just breathe. Put down my phone, push away my computer, and just focus on God and His goodness. These moments of coming away, as Song of Solomon tells us, keeps our mind, like Paul commands, of praying continually. God is with you no matter where you go, so make sure you take moments of intentionality to stay on Him.
Welcome back. We're here on Unscripted Freedom today. We're getting free today in Jesus' name.
We are. We're both getting free. I mean, I did.
Free. And I'm excited about our next guest. Beth and her husband Todd lead back-to-back ministries caring for orphaned and vulnerable kids worldwide. Between biological, adopted, and foster children, y'all ready for this? Beth is a mom of 11 and is here to share how we can help our children understand and navigate big emotions at a level where they can grasp how God wants them to lasso those thoughts. Beth, welcome to Unscripted Faith.
Thank you all. It's been a blessing. That was a powerful segment you just did with Jon. I feel like I'm walking away feeling free too.
You got free too?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
We all are getting free in here today.
It's Unscripted Freedom today. Unscripted Freedom. That's what's happening. So, well, listen, I know you're going to get into talking to us about children with big emotions and how they can lasso those emotions and find God in real unique and creative ways. And I believe you're also going to help us because we have a son that has really, really big emotions. But before you do, can you talk to us about how you came to faith in Jesus Christ?
Oh yeah, for sure. I also grew, like Jon, up in a Christian family. I loved church. I loved Vacation Bible School and youth group and Wednesday night and Sunday night. And I was so grateful to be in God's family. And so went to college, got married. After college, my father, who was young I now think he's young at the time, 51 years old, got sick with cancer. And I was like, hey, listen, church family, we know what to do. The Bible tells us.
That's right.
We pray in Jesus' name.
Amen.
We anoint him with oil. We don't eat all day before we do it. Like, we know what the Bible says. And so it was such a shock to my system when my father passed away that year. I didn't even know I didn't have any theology for, if I do things the way God wants me to, why won't He do things the way I want Him to? And Jesus and I broke up for a little bit and had to get back together. And I had to understand when I came to Him that He is not made in my image, I am made in His.
Amen.
And He's sovereign and wonderful, but not predictable and not controllable by me. And I had a much more authentic faith, which set me up for the missionary journey that my husband and I have lived on for the last 30 years. So it was I have always walked with Jesus, but we have had different seasons where He has had to reintroduce Himself to me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Amen, amen. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because a lot of people have that. And a lot of people have to know that that is normal. That, when you go through those and you hit those heavy times in life, you will have that sometimes. But God is so faithful, to your point. He comes and He reintroduces Himself to you and He leads you along the way. Now, I just want to transition here for a minute in terms of the big emotions. I mean, we share that our son has these big emotions. I mean, everything is big.
Yeah.
It's like, how was your day? It was great. It was so good. What happened? Something bad? I mean, everything is so big and demonstrative. Matter of fact, one of his teachers shared that with us, as far as, because he wasn't kind of acting right and getting along with some of the other kids. And he said he just has big emotions. Yeah. But big emotions aren't bad. A lot of people look at that as being a bad thing. How do we really, like somebody like him and some other people that have these big emotions, even adults, how do we lasso those big emotions and those thoughts and kind of bring them back inward?
Yeah, certainly I've worked in the field of child development for the last 30 years. And have all kinds of thoughts about your question. But really, if we back up, it starts with us as adults. You know, you are exactly right. We have the ability to self-regulate our emotions, co-regulate someone's emotions who are spinning out of control, or live in a dysregulated state where we are, you know, we don't know which way is up, and everything on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 10. And so what we need to do as adults is figure out how to be able to articulate our emotions, to be able to understand and name those emotions. But for me, this journey of trying to figure out how to translate all that thinking, sometimes because of the work I do with kids who have a trauma history, it is a result that there's meaning behind their behavior, and their behavior comes from places where they don't even remember the hard things that happened to them. They just know that they are having a strong reaction to an environment, a person, authority, whatever. But in 2020, I took over for a short period of time during COVID, a large church who was going through a pastoral transition. And I was just there to shepherd it and hold it together till the next pastor was coming. That's not my calling or my job, but 2020 was an unusual time. And the church was under spiritual attack. You could tell it in every aspect. And I began to ask that staff, listen, the enemy's doing the same thing he's always done. There's zero new tricks under the sun. We could all name the ways in which he attacks our minds, our relationships, our bodies, our church, our ministry. Let's work together against his agenda instead of against each other. And perpetuate his agenda. And we began to ask each other this question before every meeting and service, and what would the enemy want to have happen here, so that we could rightfully identify that kind of that third party in the room, and then right size him, because these are not characters of the same size. We see spiritual warfare, we think angels and demons are the same size. These are not characters the same size.
Come on.
And so after, I eventually wrote a book called Throw the First Punch, which is about being proactive and dismantling what the enemy's trying to do instead of reactive and protect ourselves from what he's doing. But the number one question I got after that book and all the work I did in sharing that message is people like, how can I tell my kids? Like, when do I tell my kids about the enemy? I don't want to scare my kids. And I don't want them to know about evil. And I'm like, listen, Disney's telling them about evil. They absolutely already know about evil. What we need to do is tell them the tools that they have in their tool belt to fight against the things that want to exploit those big emotions. You are exactly right, Tiff. There's nothing wrong with having big emotions. People with big emotions, they change the world.
They do, yeah.
But the enemy wants to take advantage of those big emotions and hurt our kids, and we've got to equip them with tools so that they know how to navigate through those emotions and understand what they are, name them, control them, and then share them with others.
That is so true. I think that's a good point. The enemy would like to use it to his advantage. But I have found, even with my son, those big emotions, once they're kind of pointed in the right direction, he's a leader. He's a natural born leader. He's a leader. He uses those big emotions to push things forward. And he's also resilient as well. So,
Yeah, he is. And so how would we navigate that then? How do we find the good? And, you know, like you said, you hear all about the negative things with the enemy or whatever, but what are some practical things we can do to help our children navigate those big emotions?
Yeah, science has given us a lot of really good tools. And the Lord who made our science, right? He says, set your mind on things above, take every thought captive, renew our thinking. Like, there's good things that happen in our mind. But in the simplest ways I could explain it, I would say the front of our brain is where our prefrontal cortex is. And that's all the best thinking happens up there, right? Cause and effect, problem solving, creative thinking. It's amazing. Behind our ears are these little almond-shaped glands called our amygdala. That's where fight, flight, or freeze, and there's a fourth one now called fawn lives. And our amygdalas and our prefrontal cortex cannot work at the same time, and the amygdala wins every time. So when we start to see someone fighting, fleeing, freezing, fawning, our first job as an adult is to help co-regulate them so they can get out of that activated amygdala and back up here where they can think and articulate and problem solve and understand and reason and change the world that God has put them in. And, you know, big emotions, those folks have charisma. They're going to be able to win the room. They can galvanize whole groups of people, but they need to stay up there in that prefrontal cortex so they can do that work.
It's funny, Beth, like our son, from the time he's been young, we call him the negotiator. He has the ability to get with people, and like he'll have you feeling you're his best friend, but he's got a plan.
He always
He
has
has a plan. He's thinking of something.
That is so true. You know, Beth, what you're saying is so good. And I have to mention this. I love you. You have such a sweet
I can see she loves
spirit.
kids.
Yeah, sweet spirit about you. And also, too, I had to write this down because you have so much going on. You're a missionary, a mother, a Bible teacher, a not-for-profit leader. How do you do all of this? Because a lot of times when you are so bogged down, those big emotions, they come out. And sometimes they don't come out a good way, you know, because you're so overwhelmed. And a lot of times women will come to me and ask me, okay, how do you do it all? The big question is balance. How do I balance everything? I'm a mom, I'm a minister, I'm a teacher, and then what they find themselves snapping in those, you know, with those big emotions. How would you, you know, share with somebody in terms of like the balancing? How would they balance everything?
Yeah, Tiff, I mean, I just always say there is no such thing as balance. Wow. I like the word rhythm because if I'm killing it at work, someone else is watching my kids. If you see me on Instagram at the zoo with my children, I took the day off work. If my body looks good, don't look at my house. If my house looks good, I haven't showered. You know, like, so, you know, sitting that conversation on top of what Jon just shared with us, the plan like an engineer, live like an artist. I do think there's a lot of budgeting that you do, not just time management or financial budgeting, but really energy budgeting. Like, how do I decide who's going to get what portion of my energy today? And how do I make sure there's some in reserves for whatever's happening at the back half of my day, which is usually family life or married life. So how do I think through all the roles? And, you know, for women, I just read this study. I'm like, who paid a lot of money for this? But there's a French researcher who just produced a paper about the mental load and women's mental load. And the basic findings are that men in general concentrate on a single task for an extended period of time. And we're grateful that that's the way God made their brains. But women manage multiple tasks simultaneously. We have this dashboard in our brain going on all the time. So when I'm trying to have a good rhythm, I just want to make sure that mental load is recorded somewhere else besides just my brain, and that I've thought through like an engineer how to budget my energy towards those things so that one of them doesn't get down to the red. You know, that's the balance that we're always working on.
Well, that is awesome, Beth, you know, because that is the perfect, I like the rhythm piece. I never even thought of that.
I love that, yes.
So thank you so much for just bringing balance to the balance, if you will, for those that are trying to find balance but can't, but need to obtain rhythm. So thank you so much, and for what your work is doing and your heart for children and ministry, and may God bless you and your husband and all that you guys do. Thank you for being a guest on Unscripted Faith.
What a joy. Thanks for having us today.
You got it. Well, I thought this was really good.
Oh my goodness. I got freed earlier and then I'm getting freed again. I mean, it's amazing. But I think that rhythm piece is so good, babe. You know, where it's like, you know, you're trying to get everything done. You think it's a balance piece that you're not doing a good job, but it's actually getting into your rhythm. Getting into your rhythm, whatever works for you. You know, that's one thing. You got one man says you got to have balance. Another lady here says you need to have rhythm. Well, you know what? Balance and rhythm, whatever works for you. Don't be a procrastinator, but find what works for you. Keep all things moving forward, and God will be with you.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.